I'm Max. I'm Al's younger brother, and on this evening, against his better judgment, the best man for this event. Well, I'd like to say a quick story about Al, and in a few words even. But before I do that, I too would like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Having so many family, friends, and loved ones in the same room, that means a whole lot to me. So I'm sure it means even more to Stevie and Al on their big day. But with that, I have a story, and it's a story many of you have probably heard more than once, but it's been told over the years by many different people in this family. And it's a fitting event tonight because Al happens to be the protagonist in the story as well. So a lot of versions floating around over the years, a lot of different perspectives. But this, after years of hearing these stories and piecing together the first-hand accounts, I think this might be the most historically accurate version. So, without further ado, I present to you all the story of Al, the trombone, and the dirty drawers. So, I know there's a lot of you in here that have known Al for a very long time, even grew up with him, and I think, it's a surprise to know that back then, he was always a really, really good kid, right? He got perfect grades, never got in trouble, never had to get a call home, and really never need to be told to do that. It's just how he was. But I assure you, Al is human, and like us all, that comes with quirks, right? Now, for him, at the time, what this looked like is really he had a little bit of a bad habit. What that was he would always prefer to get changed right in the center of the living room. Now, yeah, so you come home after a long day of school and want to get into something more comfortable, drop trout right in the living room. And this behavior, is completely bizarre, but really it wasn't much of an issue in itself, right? What the real issue was that where those drawers would drop, they would stay. Often at many times, having the cycle would repeat, and by Thursday or Friday of the week, people were slipping on the drawers anyway. So really, it wasn't a lack of effort on my mom's part to try to, correct this behavior. Really, it was, my poor mother was beside herself. She tried everything from trying to reason with them to disciplinary actions, but really just couldn't get through to a young Al. So there was one moment, early one morning, that my mom came downstairs, slipped on the drawers, and really was struck with had a moment of creative genius. She knew how she was going to solve the problem once and for all. Without hesitation, she picked those drawers off the floor. She balled them up real tight. She shoved them right into the horn of Al's trombone. So let's fast forward here to the next day. Al's now sitting in the band room, a little tired having practiced that trombone all evening for this morning's chair placement test. So really nervous but prepared. It was Al's chance to finally get that position, that first chair position he wanted, right? So the conductor went one by one down the row of musicians, right, hearing the ensembles, and finally stopped when he got to Al. And it was Al's time to shine. And Al picked up that trombone and he blew into it with everything he had. And really, as my Uncle Mike would say in his recantings, out popped them drawers. So, anyways, the way I heard it, having gone to the same school, being there at the time, those drawers flew right across the room and caught the conductor's baton, who had been waving it around to keep the tempo. Anyways, that's enough story time. Now I share that story with you for a few reasons. First and foremost, it's a great story. We all love that story. The sheer amount of people from our family in this room today, someone was going to say it. Someone was going to say say it, you might as well just get it out of the way. Secondly, like any great story, I think there's something that can be taken away from it. Now, in this case, for instance, I think it's different for everyone, like any great story, right? Perspective. For Al, it's probably, his takeaway this time is it's probably time to retire that one. I would even venture that a few of you in this room's takeaway might be, oh boy, what did Stevie just marry into? But for me, it's actually a little bit of a deeper meaning. And I think in life, it just comes down to there's a whole lot we do know, and perhaps even more we don't. Now, I know my brother Al, and I know he was probably the most prepared person in that room that day. Probably could have lost his sheet music or spilled water on it and hit every note. But no one in their right mind would have seen George popping out of it. I think it relates to my relationship with my brother as well. I'm gonna get a little more serious. Al's my only brother, and simply put, I don't know what my life would look like without him. If you ask me after a blowout argument, I'd probably say for the better. But in my heart, I know that's just not the truth. The truth is, Al's always someone who always does the right thing. Now, I may not always do the right thing. A lot of the things I did right in my life were because of the example he had set for me. I saw him go through school, just doing his absolute best, working his absolute hardest, go into the real world, and immediately start chasing down success by his and only his definition. And it made me want to do that too. I think that moral also relates to my relationship with my new sister-in-law as well. I always had a gut feeling that Al would go far in life, but I didn't know where it would take him, and more importantly, with whom. But what I do know now, after a couple of years of getting to know Stevie, is that Al couldn't have ended up with a better match for himself. He's truly... When I realized that what a truly kind, accepting, intelligent person she is, it really warms my heart to know that he's going to spend the rest of his life with her. And on a few occasions, even having spent time with Stevie's family, I realized what truly decent people she comes from. And it really does warm my heart to know that Al's family's growing with a lot of decent, loving people as well. Lastly, I don't know what life has in store for these two, and that's not for me to say. But what I do know is that the love and support that they have for each other will take them through anything, and there's nothing they can't handle. So with that, I would like to propose this toast to Stevie and Al and their new life together, but also to all of us who showed up to support them. May we continue that support in their new life together as they in their pursuit of happiness. Cheers.